In the world of the unknown, two souls combine to experience and unite the paranormal with its history. Join Paul and Chris on a quest to find answers only at Experiences of the Unknown.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another podcast episode of Experiences of the Unknown. See, I had to beat him to it. So today we have a very special guest. Paul's very excited, very nervous. Second take of trying to do this because of how nervous he gets.
Yes. I get really nervous, but I'm excited for today's episode though, because I got one of my dear friends, Crystal Panek, from the Bigfoot community.
See, he messed up again.
But I'm going to introduce her, but I'm going to read the list that's under her belt, because for her being a woman in the Bigfoot community, she's got a lot underneath her belt. She's a Field Researcher Organization, the BFRO, for the State of New Hampshire, chairman for the Squatch Files Research Team. She's a paranormal investigator, an investigative reporter for the Squatch GQ magazine.
Nice.
And she's got other things underneath her belt, but welcome, Crystal.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
I'm over here. I'm like starstruck. I couldn't really talk for a minute. I was like, man, she does a lot.
I know.
I tried to do as much as I can. As soon as my kids got old enough where I could do what I wanted to do, I'm doing it.
Hey, that's the way to go. You better just jump in it and do it. If you don't,
that's right.
You know what I mean? You never know what would happen.
I don't know who's more starstruck, you or me, because I've been so fascinated with Bigfoot all my life.
That's all he talks about. Every episode we do, after the episode, he's like, man, we got to do Bigfoot.
Do something on Bigfoot. Do something on Bigfoot. And now I got Crystal on, and I feel honored that you're on. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. But, glad to be here.
So tell us, did we miss anything, or is there anything that you want to point out about yourself that we did not cover, right from the beginning?
I was in the Air Force. So right after high school, I joined the Air Force. 10 days after graduating, I was at basic training. So I made it all the way up to Staff Sergeant.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much. That's where I met my husband. We were stationed in Spain together.
That's awesome.
So we've been together 31 years now. So time flies when you're having fun.
30, and she looks like a baby. 31 years?
Thank you. I went in when I was 17.
Wow. It's a long time.
So,
you're still a baby, Crystal. Still a baby.
Why, thank you.
So how long were you in the Air Force for?
I actually only did 2 years in Torrejon, which is in Spain.
Okay.
That's when, in the 90s, when they were kind of letting people out of the service early.
Okay.
So I actually went to Jersey, and I was stationed at McGuire, and I was a full-time guardsman there,
That's
National
awesome.
Guard. And
Yes.
I did that for several years before moving to Florida.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So,
See? This is more than...
More than what meets the eye.
Exactly.
And I didn't even know that, neither.
See?
Wow.
That's why you always ask.
See?
So let's talk about
Bigfoot.
This is Paul's most exciting moment that he just forgets to ask the question.
Yeah. Crystal.
Bigfoot is near and dear to my heart.
Yes, he
So
is. Yes,
tell
he
us
is.
tell us what got you started into Bigfoot.
Actually, my whole thing started when I was a kid. I had an encounter. So my twin and I shared an experience together, and it completely changed my life.
Huh. You wanna touch a little more in that, or?
I will share my encounter with you. I'm always very nervous when I share it.
Don't be nervous.
We'll jump right in, I guess. We'll go for it.
Let's do it.
So it was, I remember the month and day because our birthday, we were turning 6. And we had 1978. We had come home. I try not to jump around. I'm going to try to stay on the flow.
Hey, let's stay on the flow.
It was 1978. We had come home one night, and we lived in a trailer. There were 3 trailers. This was in upstate New York in Oswego. And
I've been there before.
Yeah, it's nice up there. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I went out to Google Earth and looked, and the whole area is still nothing but swamps and apple orchards and farms.
Yeah, they have a lot of nice waterfalls there too. I've been to a couple.
It's beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like it. But we had come home one night, and my mom opened the door to go into the trailer and noticed that the back door had been practically ripped off the hinges. So she rushed us back out to the car, and we waited for the sheriff to come. Sheriff came. They checked the house out. Nothing was stolen other than that busted back door. I'm not sure how my mom Jimmy rigged it closed, but that night our bedroom door, I wish I had a diagram, but our bedroom door was like almost directly across from that busted door. Okay. So my twin and I, we were on bunk beds. I was on the top bunk, she was on the bottom, and my mom had always left that hall light on for us. And I awoke to my sister calling my name, Crystal, Crystal. And I sat up, and there was this huge hairy thing standing in the doorway, and not in the outside door, but in the hallway, looking into our room. And I could tell it was hairy because it was backlit by that light. And I was terrified. I didn't want to climb down the front of the bed because this thing was there. So I squeezed myself between the wall and the bunk to get down to her bed. And we sat there just huddled together. And I always say, this is when it gets weird. It started to walk in. And from the point of it walking in, my twin and I, neither one of us can remember anything. It was completely black until the next morning. We awoke the next morning, huddled together. We got up. I don't remember looking out that door, but we went down into the living room area, and there was this big bay window in the backyard. And this thing was squatting down behind the car. It made eye contact with us, stood up, and turned around and just walked into the woods. So what happened between that time where we don't remember? Unfortunately, we don't remember. Wow. But we have toyed with the idea of doing hypnosis. I've been trying for 30 plus years. I've been looking to try to get somebody to do this hypnosis session for me and let it be recorded. And just last week, I found someone who is willing and able to do it for me. So I'm very excited, and I hope I can get it done.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You gotta have to keep it posted, or at least keep us posted on that, because that would be pretty interesting to find out if, what you find out from that night.
Yeah, I'm very curious. That day we told my mom what had happened. She also, she had her own encounter in those same exact woods when she was a little girl. Huh. So, and then, it's multi-generational. My mom saw it, I saw it, and my daughter saw it here in New Hampshire. So I don't understand how, all of us have seen this creature, but I want to learn more. After my daughter's encounter, that made me go, okay, there's something really out there. She didn't know about my encounter. It's not something I ever talked about.
Right.
I didn't even know a lot of these communities existed until, finding Bigfoot in Facebook. And I was like, wow, there's other people out there who have seen this thing. And it just made me want to know more. And so that's where my, getting into the Bigfoot side of it. I've always been interested in the paranormal and have always done, the paranormal type stuff and the, driving the roads at night looking for UFOs. I've, did a lot of that as well. So.
Right. And that's where, that's pretty much how it happened with me with the paranormal. Same thing, you experience that one thing and you want to learn more about it because not many people know much about the paranormal field or, like you said, Bigfoot. For that case.
Well, up here where I live in New Hampshire, it's like even growing up, it was something we just never talked about.
Right.
So it was kind of taboo. Nobody talks about it. But now it's becoming less taboo. Like still here in New Hampshire, they really don't talk about it. I've contacted like local libraries and things like that. I want to do these town hall type meetings just to get more, to get more reports. But they never call you back. It's like they don't want to talk about it, and that's why I don't know if you've taken a look at the BFRO site. I do handle cases for the BFRO for the state of New Hampshire. And if you look at that, there's only 16. There's only 16 public cases. But no kidding, I'm working well over, I have 30 plus right now that I'm currently working, and I still have a backlog of more that I'm trying to work. And I don't know if you can see it behind me, but that's my sighting map.
That's pretty awesome.
And I can try to move it closer for you guys in a bit if you want, just to show you all the pins. The state is covered.
Of course.
So Bigfoot's definitely here.
Yeah, definitely. And then, is that something maybe like back when you started looking into it? Did you go back and try to see if there was maybe some other sightings in that specific area where you guys were staying at? Maybe around the same time or like even recent?
Yeah, I actually have looked in the area. There are reports up that way, but it's the same thing. It's kind of hush hush. People are, they try to keep it quiet. Nobody. Right. I recently talked to my aunt about it, and she said she remembers when all this happened, and they were all told, "Don't talk about it." So, but I'm sure that there's a lot more people up that way that have had encounters. I had heard kind of through the grapevine. Unfortunately, I couldn't speak to him because he's passed away, but my grandfather has had stuff going on in those swamps back there. So I wish I could talk to him about it, but my goal someday is to get back up there and explore. When I was a kid and whenever we'd go back up to upstate New York to visit my grandparents, who still live up that way, or my grandmother, I was so scared. I would never even sleep in the camper or the tents or whatever. I would have to sleep in the house on the couch because I was scared to death to be outside after dark.
Does she still live like in that same house, or? She's actually directly. It's kind of kitty corner. Like here's their house that my grandfather built, and then up the road just a tiny bit at the edge of their property. Go across the road, and there's a driveway with 3 trailers, and there's still only 3 trailers out there.
Wow.
So I'm really curious to go out there. Like I said, I just did a Google search not that long ago just to look at the property to see if they've built anything up out there.
Right.
And it's still nothing but swamps and apple orchards, farms. So that's one of my bucket list items, is to get back out that way and just explore those woods.
Huh.
Now,
if I can find anything.
Now I like with Bigfoot. See, here I go. I'm stuttering, Crystal. Now, I believe that not everybody does see Bigfoot. I think only certain few have the privilege of seeing Bigfoot. Now, like what you said earlier, your mother saw Bigfoot. You and your sister saw Bigfoot, and your daughter. Now, that sounds like a type of a pattern there. Do you think everybody's meant to see Bigfoot?
I honestly don't know. I don't know if you're just more observant and you're paying attention to your environment. I wish I had seen what my daughter saw that day. It was actually here where we're living now. We live in a log cabin in New Hampshire, and we had a business, and I was on the phone, and I was getting ready to call a client, so I told her, "Hey, I'm going to be making a phone call. I need you to be quiet." They knew the ordeal. If I'm on the phone, the door's shut, you have to be quiet. So I was on the phone speaking with this gentleman, and all of a sudden she is beating on the door, screaming and crying. And of course I'm on the phone, so I'm like trying to cover it up, and I like throw a stapler at the door like, "Oh, what are you doing?" So she's still going on. So finally I just had to say to the guy, "I'm sorry, my daughter's here today. Can I call you back in just a few moments?" And I hung up the phone, and I went to go rip the door open and yell at her, and I ripped the door open, and she clung on to me, and then I knew something was wrong, just how she was acting. And I was like, whoa, what's the matter? And as I'm kind of trying to push her away a little bit, and she's like, "A big hairy man just walked by the window."
Wow.
So now, and this was before she knew about my encounter, so I, of course, run to the window, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, "Well, where did it go?" And she's like, "Duh," that that kind of attitude, like it went in the woods. And I'm like, "Are you sure it wasn't a bear?" And then she said, "It was walking on 2 legs." So the way she described it to me, I wish I had seen it, and I wanted to go outside to see if I could hear anything, And now when you look back, this was before I was with the organization and knew what you're supposed to do when you encounter something like this. I didn't look for footprints, and I didn't, I just, hindsight's 2020, like, why didn't I do that? But I wanted to just go outside and see if I could hear anything. So as I'm trying to walk to the front door, she's hanging off the back of my sweater, dragging her feet. No, you can't go out. You can't go out. So I just went back to the window and looked outside, and unfortunately I didn't see it, but the way she described it, it was when it walked by the window, all she could see was its like chest to its waist as it walked by the window, and she could see its arms moving and the hair was hanging off its arm.
Wow.
So I wish I had seen it. It kills me that I didn't see it. I really, now when I look back, I'm like, why didn't I go look for footprints? Why didn't I,
Could you imagine having security cameras and capturing that?
I wish. I actually have purchased some game cameras and put them out there. And I've gotten, deer and bear and all kinds of stuff out there, but still waiting.
No Bigfoot, huh?
No, there was only one other time where we had an incident where the cabin got smacked.
Wow.
And of course, we got my husband, and of course he goes out with his gun and looks around the house, and we don't see anything. So I didn't think much about it. I'm like, okay, I don't know what would have smacked the house, but that night I was on Facebook, scanning Facebook, and I see my neighbor who lives kind of across the stream. She says, I'm home alone, I'm scared to death, something just smacked the house. So I was just like, oh my gosh, so excited. I messaged her like, what do you mean something smacked your house? And she's like, I don't know, something just smacked the house, it scared the crap out of me. I said, okay, I'm coming over tomorrow. So I did end up going out that next day and searched for sign, and I did find several small, they were only about a foot big, tracks, but they were in moss. Okay. So like they followed, I have a stream on the back side of my house, and I could see the tracks kind of heading towards the stream, and they were down by the stream, but all the impressions were in leaf litter and moss, and I could not get a cast. There was not a good impression for me to take. So I was really bummed, but that's what I was thinking. Maybe there's a juvenile out there somewhere was making his way through. I don't know. It's the only thing I could think of with a 12-foot track. So
now, by you doing this, have you gotten any type of evidence or anything that shows that you have encountered or have seen anything, or anybody else have seen anything kind of the same, but have like evidence showing that there was something there that happened at that time? Or
I know people get mad. I did help out on a New Hampshire case. I wasn't the lead on this case. Somebody else was, and the gentleman had hair samples, and I still have my copy of my sample that I collected, and I still have not been able to find anybody to test it. This past year, in August last year, I contacted the University of New Hampshire to see if I could maybe work with their forensics labs, and maybe that would give their students something to look at too. And they were very intrigued, but because COVID, they said, oh, we'll have to get back with you, and I'm still waiting.
Wow.
It seems like that's the case with everything. Like, everybody's intrigued, they want to believe, but at the same time they don't want to help.
Right.
Yeah. I've contacted, I know people get mad. They're like, you've had that hair sample for years. Why haven't you had it tested yet? It has not been easy to try to find a lab, even not saying what it is. I said, oh, something broke into my chicken coop, and I, left this hair, and I'd like to see just what was in my coop, and I still have not been able to find.
How about zoos? Have you tried contacting zoos, like different type of zoos, because they might have like a whole list of
No,
animals.
Actually, that's a good idea. I do know that there's I have a my husband bought me a couple of years ago a microscope that I can connect to the computer.
Okay.
Which allows me to zoom in and see the hair samples. And I've actually used it on several cases where hair samples were found, and you look at the hair samples under the microscope and you can see the follicles. I'm not a scientist by any means, but the FBI has a database, and you can go out to their database. It's got like everything in it, and it's online.
Okay.
And you can see the different types of hair, the types of animals. So, you can look at it and go, okay, that was raccoon undercoat, undercoat hair or something like that. Right. So just from the look of the hair and the characteristics of it. So, but I love what I do. I love talking to people who have had encounters.
I love hearing them.
That's what makes it worthwhile, Especially, you would figure if a lot of people are more cooperative or like actually sit down, we as a group, you would think that people would be able to just have a knowledge of what this is. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it exists. A lot of people have had sightings, but to me, like in my own personal opinion, like it has to be pretty smart or have some kind of knowledge for it to be able to be, hiding away for this long.
I always like to say I'm very, very tough on evidence. It's the same as if I go in to do a paranormal investigation. I'm very tough on evidence. I'm trying to get proof. So I look for that evidence. And I've had so many people tell me I'm a negative Nancy because I don't jump to conclusions, but because I need evidence. And even though I've had my own encounter, that's just my encounter. Right. I don't have any proof of that encounter.
But you have to be that way, though. You have to be.
Right. But my motto is not everything in the woods is Bigfoot. Boy, sometimes I get an earful for that. But
but it's true.
But it's true.
And not everything's ghost neither when you go paranormal hunting for a ghost.
Yeah, you have the people with the orbs. Oh man, look at all those orbs. And it turns out to be dust.
Dust. Or an insect.
Now the question for you, Miss Crystal. Do you think there's a link between UFOs?
I was going to ask that.
Orbs, we're going to ask that?
Yeah.
You should do it.
I was thinking about it.
Like between UFOs, orbs, and Bigfoot?
It's tough to say because there's two sides to every story. There's the people who believe in more of the paranormal side of the Bigfoot, and then there's those who are flesh and blood believers. I'm trying to ride that fine line down the center because really we don't have any answers.
Right.
Some people have claimed that they've seen Bigfoot with UFOs and obviously orbs too. I don't know if you know Ronnie LeBlanc and his stuff with Monsterland, but that's kind of his theory with the orbs and seeing Bigfoot. So, it's tough to say. I can't really say yes or no because we just don't know.
Right. And orbs, as we all know, is very controversial in the paranormal field.
See, and the reason I was going to ask that same question Paul was going to ask was simply because of the fact of what you experienced on your encounter. That experience have also been reported in some UFO cases where, people claim to be abducted and then they, for some reason, don't remember anything that happens up until 3 or 4 days later when, they're found, and it just, all they can see is just, I guess, they can think their memory just goes blank. They can't remember exactly what happens, like from the point that they got abducted to the point where they reappeared.
I have shared this encounter with some people before on like a private Facebook group chat, and that's one thing that somebody had said is, "Oh my gosh, it sounds like you were abducted by aliens," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, don't tell me that. That'd be too scary for me." But it's funny because when I sometimes talk to people about this, I'm like, I don't remember what its face looked like because all I remember seeing were its eyes. So it's hard for me to say. They're like, well, what does its nose look like? What did its mouth look like? I couldn't tell you because it was just, I think it was just I was in such shock as to what we were seeing. That's like all I could focus on. When it was backlit by the hall light, I don't remember seeing any facial features other than this big black hairy thing walking into my room. So, and it was kind of creepy. I was talking with a woman who works, I don't know exactly what she does, but she had mentioned to me that, it's funny, sometimes when people have had traumatic occurrences that have happened to them, sometimes the only thing they can remember are their, the eyes of whoever did the traumatic thing to them. So it was kind of gave me goosebumps when she had said that that's why I want to do the hypnosis session, because I want to know what happened during that time that we don't remember. But then, my husband is he doesn't want me to do it because did I forget for a reason?
Right.
So I'm kind of up in the air about it, but it's one of those things that I've always wanted to do, is to do this hypnosis session to recall. I would love to be able to recall facial features, what happened during that time frame that we don't remember.
Right.
My twin, she really doesn't want anything to do with this. I've asked her about it a number of times. She said she might be willing to do the hypnosis session, but she doesn't want hers recorded. But I kind of want it recorded because I want to do that comparison between our two, what we both recall.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to say, I mean, if you both do it at separate times and have it recorded that way, you can match what each other saw. Maybe one saw more than the other, or vice versa. Because I mean, there was a case back in the day. It was a UFO case. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it also happened in New York, where this group of 5 friends were supposedly abducted by aliens, and they can all remember being taken, and then for some reason they appeared in the middle of the lake, and they can't really remember what happened between that time. But when they got the hypnosis done, apparently they both stated that, or all of them stated they seen the same thing and practically had the same exact experience, which was interesting. That's why when you asked that, it was pretty interesting because of that, because of what she experienced.
Now, I have a question for you, Miss Crystal. How far is White Hill from where you used to live? For you?
Oh, from
when you had your first experience.
Mine was in upstate New York, Oswego. That's more northern.
Okay.
I think Whitehall is more southern, more closer to the Massachusetts border. But don't quote me on that. I'm not a geologist. I don't know.
But it sounds
or whatever they're called.
It sounds like the whole state of New York State has got a lot of Bigfoot activity apparently.
It's everywhere. I mean, if you look at New Hampshire's map, it's covered in pins, and we only have 16 public cases, but that's because people here are so private. They don't want people. People will go out to the BFRO website, look at where there's encounters, and then go to those locations or try to find that area. But up here, people are so private, they don't want anybody even on their land.
Right.
So, like I said, I have so many cases. This is my logbook of all my cases that I've worked.
Wow.
Well, touching on that base, there was a couple of sightings around this area recently. There was a couple articles written about it. The Millville area, Millville, New Jersey.
The Pine Barrens.
There was supposed to be a couple sightings recently, actually, within the past 3 weeks of a Bigfoot sighting, which is pretty interesting because it's close to home,
They're everywhere.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
But here's I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know it.
Now, out of the whole Northeast, that whole area, what would you consider the most hot spot of Bigfoot
Honestly,
activity?
it's hard for me to say.
Okay.
Because I really only pretty much pay attention to the New Hampshire cases because that's my area. So, but there really are everywhere. People have sightings, and a lot of times too, they don't report it. I actually ran into somebody in the Walmart not that long ago who shared an encounter with me, third party. Oh, did you hear about so-and-so? They had an encounter at their house. So I always have my business cards on me. I whip out a business card and said, please have them call me. Nothing. I run into the person again, and I'm like, really, I need to talk to this person because I want to get out to their site because it was local. It was a daytime sighting, and I was like, please have them call me because we're wasting time and I'm losing precious evidence. So, unfortunately, they still never called me because it's like, you can't say anything or your friends are going to laugh at you. You're crazy. But no, it's real. And if you have an encounter, please reach out to me because I would love to talk to you.
That'd be awesome.
It sounds like that she gets a lot people talking about it, but they just don't call you.
They
Well,
don't.
That's how it is. Like,
Or they don't.
Good.
They don't follow through with it, so they just get too nervous.
Wow. They're all over because they're all like different. I believe there's all different types of Bigfoot. You got the big,
Sasquatch.
you got Sasquatch, you got the Bigfoot Himalayans, the
Yeti.
Yeti, and then you got the one down in Florida. Oh my God.
Skunk ape.
Skunk ape. Thank you, Crystal. I believe there's like all different types.
I believe so too. I think there is a diversity. I mean, I think they're all based on the same thing, but it's hard. Again, I have to walk that fine line because we can't say because there aren't any answers.
Right.
So,
Do you think do you think for each one of these different types of Bigfoot has to do with the land and the area that they live in? So
yeah, I think they have to. Yeah, they have to become acclimated to where they live.
Right.
So, like with the Yeti, like they call it a Yeti because it's in the snow, right?
It's in Nepal. Yep.
Yeah. So
And supposedly, the Bigfoot the Yeti is supposed to be more aggressive than a lot of the other Bigfoot species.
That's what they've said.
there was a case a while ago. I forget what it was, but it was the one where the whole college class like supposedly got killed by it, and it was supposed to be like covered up.
Oh, the Russian one.
Yeah, the Russian one. What do you think of that? Do you think that was
At first I believed that it might have been something scared them, but I actually just saw an article the other day actually talking about that and how it was an avalanche that caused the issues. But I mean, again, I would have to do more research on it. I've always believed that something strange happened out there, but without any further evidence, we can't say what it was.
Right.
Because if I remember correctly, in that case, they talked about like how the kids were taking pictures of themselves, and supposedly like in those pictures they were able to see like, supposedly the Yeti like stalking them from far away.
Right.
It's tough because that picture, it's so far back and it's so like not really pixelated but dark,
Right.
that it's hard to really tell if it's a person or if it's a Yeti, or what do they call it in Russia? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say. So I feel like I'm pleading the fifth. I can't say if it is or if it isn't, because I just don't have the evidence to say what it is.
Right.
And if I make one judgment, people might be like, "Oh, you're wrong," and then I'm going to get attacked.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's why we always like to say in your opinion.
Right.
So that way nobody, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. So
Right.
At the end of the day, you can't really say much because it's your opinion. It's not
It's
nobody
my
else's
opinion.
You know what I
that's
mean?
right. I agree with that.
And it's the same way, like say when people post like different videos on Bigfoot and photos, there's never a clear view of Bigfoot. It's always either it's fuzzy and that irritates me. I don't know why, Crystal, that irritates me. It's just we can never get a good
There's been
shot
a
of
lot
them.
of times where I bite my tongue when I'm out looking at Facebook feeds or something, a Bigfoot group that people are posting stuff, and I'm like, it could be this, and there, but everybody's like, oh great, it's a baby, and it's this, it's that, and I just, okay, I'm just gonna bite my tongue and not say anything because everybody's gonna get mad at me if I say anything. So I try to stay open, but again, I have to look at the scientific side of everything and what else could it be before I say it's Bigfoot. So, but a few years ago I made it out to Willow Creek and got to go to the actual location of where the Patterson Gimlin video, the movie was filmed, or
Wow.
the video was filmed. So I managed to get out there for the 50th anniversary, and we were at the location on the very same time that this whole encounter happened, and that was one of my bucket list items, and it was the most amazing thing.
That's awesome.
We had so much fun.
That's on my bucket list, Willow Creek. Does that still look the same, Crystal?
It looks completely different because it's all grown up.
Oh.
And they were able to find the exact location due to the stumps that were in the video or in the, on the film. They were able to match up the old stumps of the broken trees to the location. And so it's all grown up now. But, but again, same thing. I've had people tell me, well, you're not in the right location. But then I'm not going to name names, but he's pretty famous out there for coming up with different stories about what happened on the Patterson-Gimlin day. So I won't say anything more, but he says it's not the right spot, but I think we were on the right spot just based off of all the research that they've done. Unfortunately, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the group that did that. I know it was with Steven Strufert, Jamie Wayne, and I know I'm going to mess up the other ones, but I don't recall what their name of their group is. But they were able to plot the exact location. And when we went out there, we met up with Daniel Perez, and he kind of showed us around where the trees were from the video to what's there now, and it was pretty amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list. Now there's a little town around Willow Creek that's they celebrate Bigfoot all year round, isn't there?
There is a little town there, Willow Creek. But let me tell you where the film site was and where the town is. Funny story. We went out there, and I have a rental car, and I get a text message from some of the people I was with, and they're like, "We're going right now."
Oh.
So I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." So I jump in the car, we're driving. And then we're driving, and we're driving, and we're driving, and I'm looking at my gas gauge slowly going down, and I'm like, where is this place? Finally, I had to call them. I'm following them. We were in the car forever. So I called them, and I'm like, guys, I'm almost on E. So we pull over at this little spot. I jump in their car, and we continue on and get to the film site. So, and then it was such a I don't recommend this. This was not a planned event. We kind of just went out to go see the Willow Creek sign, and then it was like, oh, while we're here, let's continue on and go check out the film site.
Aren't those the best times? Like the not planned, unexpected, like fun or adventure.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Crystal. If I was with you at Willow Creek, my ass would have been parked in that car the whole entire time. I would have slept in the car.
Let me tell you that I can easily see in California, like being from New Hampshire, the different foliage, everything is like so much bigger. I picked up an oak tree leaf, and I swear to God, it was like the size of a dinner plate. It was gigantic. So I can easily see how things can hide so easily out there. But when we went, we had no water. We weren't dressed properly, Thank God we didn't get lost out there. But it was one of those things where it was like I would still do it again in a heartbeat. I would not go. I would definitely go. But just make sure you have gas before you go.
Right. And that's how it always works.
Yeah.
These last minute trips.
Yep. So luckily I managed to find a gas station at the Indian reservation that was still open. So at least I could get gas and get back to Willow Creek. So.
Wow.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Got any more questions?
I think we covered everything.
Is there anything else that we did not cover that you would like to share?
Wow, I don't know.
Put you on the spot.
Crystal, I'm still starstruck, so you know.
I love doing what I do. I love talking to people about their Bigfoot encounters. I love paranormal investigating. I love just even driving the back roads at night looking for, lights in the sky. It's fun, it's fascinating, and I just want to keep it going and have fun doing what we love to do.
Well, she sounds like our type of girl.
Yeah, definitely. Now, if people wanted to contact you, if they had any sightings or had any stories or just wanted to contact you regarding like Bigfoot, where would they contact you? Where would they find you?
You can obviously find me on Facebook, just Crystal Panek. I have a Hotmail account that also is just crystalpanek@hotmail.com, so you can always feel free to reach out to me there as well. But definitely Facebook is probably the easiest. You'll see my profile picture. It's me, so just you can send me a message, and it's funny because you run into people and they're like, "You don't look like you on your profile," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's me."
I think you look like your profile.
I think I look like my profile, but
I don't know how to take that.
Probably.
I don't know how to take
I know.
that
I was like, is that a compliment or an
No,
insult? I don't know.
No, it's a compliment because you're like one of the few that don't have to app yourself. You're beautiful the way you are.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Now I'm blushing.
Hey, I'm starstruck, so.
At this point, there's just words coming out of his mouth that he just cannot control.
But
okay.
I can't think of anything else that I'd like to share. Just hopefully one day I can get down that way and do some ghost hunting and Bigfooting.
Let us know. We're always free.
A combined. I actually have done a combined joint effort at a location that did Bigfooting and paranormal at the same time, and that was very interesting. We brought in a psychic to talk to the gentleman there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a neat joint adventure because I think that was something that hasn't been done before.
Right.
That's awesome.
I'd love to get up your way too, Crystal. Your way's pretty active.
Hey,
yeah, it is.
Maybe we can
Bigfoot
take it
and the paranormal.
Maybe we can take a ride back all the way out to Oswego. You ever been there?
Never been there.
That's an awesome place. Love that area.
I would love to get back up there and hit those woods. Like I said, my aunt still lives up there, and my grandmother, and I do have other aunts and uncles, but I haven't really talked to them. But I would be very, very much interested in going back up to upstate New York and looking in that area. And I'm really looking forward to doing the hypno session. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to pull that together here soon. Unfortunately, he's all the way on the other side of the country, but he ensures that, doing a Zoom type call has the same effects. So
okay.
I guess we can see how that works. I don't know, but yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
You can always record it too, like through Zoom or like Skype. Skype, you can do like the screen recording. That'll work too. But let us know how you make out with that. Yeah. I'm kind of really interested to see how that comes out.
Yep, me too.
And we would love to have you back on. Anytime you would like to come back on, we'll have you back on.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
How much do you know about the Philadelphia experiment?
You know what? It's funny because I do love that. I'm fascinated by that, and I would love to know more. What really happens?
Me too.
Where did they go? I like the Bermuda Triangle. I'm fascinated by that. Loch Ness Monster.
Yes.
You name it. If
oh
it's
my
unusual,
God! Yep.
I'm into it.
Loch Ness Monster. Not so much Philadelphia experiment because for some odd reason, it's like I could study something and come on and talk about it, but the Philadelphia experiment, I got like a mental block, Crystal. I don't know why. I'm thinking like maybe did I have like maybe a past life?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
So just to fill you in, I've been trying to do the Philadelphia experiment for how long now? Since the first episode?
And what are we on our sixth?
Yeah, since the first episode. And I have done so much research. I found a lot of like original documents, especially like documents from like the Navy reports itself that they conducted. And I have all these documents, but every time we're going to cover it,
Mr.
Paul,
Technical here.
I lose Paul like in the middle of it. He's just like listening. He gets so involved into the story that he just stops talking. So
that's funny.
I need somebody else to do it with me. So if you're interested,
actually we have a couple people. We could like zoom them all in.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that would be a blast.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by all of it. If it's unusual,
UFOs,
strange, UFOs.
Yep.
You name it, I'm fascinated by it. I love studying it. Honestly, if I probably wasn't in the BFRO, I might have looked at MUFON. So that would be a blast. I would love to talk.
We got to have her back on to talk about like UFOs and.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm down.
I've had my own unusual encounters with UFOs that I can share with you. So.
Oh, you'll definitely be back on.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to get Paul to have some encounters himself.
We were thinking about going out looking for UFOs. I mean, I'm always open for all that.
Yeah.
But definitely Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot.
We'll definitely have you on. Thank you for actually coming on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
I feel honored for having you on.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.